What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have a story of an incredibly spoiled brat who ends up knocking out his teacher for the worst reason ever. I mean, there's never really a good reason to knock out your teacher in class, but this was just the goofiest thing ever. I know you'll enjoy this story as it's a pretty crazy spoiled kid story. So yeah, sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. And of course, leave a like for your very own free nothing. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Teddy. And we're also going to call the kid in Teddy's class who is the spoiled brat. We're just going to call him a spoiled kid or a spoiled brat. Whenever I give him a name, it always gets kind of complicated. So anyways, this kid in Teddy's class was just known as the spoiled kid. He was just known as the kid who was just very entitled. I mean, his parents had a lot of money. He was always given everything like that. But he just embodied being super entitled. He just embodied being super spoiled because he was super spoiled and he was super entitled. And this all started one day when there was a new girl in class. So this girl, anyways, this is 7th grade, so they've been going to the same school with the same people forever. But whenever someone new moves into the neighborhood, they obviously join the high school. And yeah, so there's a new girl who moved in over the summer, and we're just going to call her Kate, because that's the name I use for basically everyone at this point, or any girl at this point. So yeah, Kate's the new girl. She comes in, and immediately, spoiled kid, who has zero charisma, or riz, as you guys might call it, has zero charisma, right, has zero play, has zero riz. He immediately decides that he's the one to make the move. So anyways, it's like the first day of class, and Kate's the new girl in the class, and it's a little tough when you're the new kid in class because everyone else is talking to each other, everyone else knows each other, and you're kind of just chilling there, you're kind of just sitting there, kind of just twiddling your thumbs or whatever, not really sure what to do. But anyways, immediately, within I don't know, as soon as class began, the spoiled kid went over and sat right next to her, which she had no problem with because, I don't know, when I'm new and someone makes a move to be friends with me, I'm very happy with that, you know? And she probably just thought that I don't know, he's being nice because he knows that I'm new. Anyways, spoiled kid sits down and says, "Hey, what's up? My name's Spoiled Kid. Nice to meet me." She kind of just looks at him like, bro. And Teddy's watching the whole thing go down. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're calling subscriber Teddy. I don't know if I said that or not. So Teddy's watching this whole thing go down. And he's just chilling with his boys. And he's just thinking to himself, oh, no. Bro is at it again. Bro is at it again, being a menace to society and being a menace to this new girl. Poor Kate, bro. So the spoiled kid sat down. He's like, yeah, what's good? Nice to meet me. I'd be super happy to meet me too. And she's like, he's like, yeah, so I just wanted to know if you wanted to go in a car ride with me on this Friday. It was a Monday, so he's talking about the upcoming Friday, implying do you want to basically go on a date with me? He's like, yeah, my car is pretty cool. I bet it's a little nicer than any car you've driven in, so it would be a really cool experience. It's a great opportunity for you. Yeah. And Kate's just kind of sitting there very awkwardly. This is an in real life try not to cringe challenge, and she was about to lose real hard. So she's like, I don't know. I might be doing something with my parents this weekend, so it's a very nice offer. He's like, okay. What about next weekend? Are you free next weekend? And she's like, maybe. I mean, I don't really know, but I can get back to you. He's like, that's not gonna cut it, actually. I'm gonna have to know right now because I have a lot of women who want to be in the car with me. Which, when Teddy heard this, he kind of rolled his eyes. Because he knew for a fact that the line of women, he's saying that, the spoiled kid's saying that there's a line of women going out the door to, be on a date with him. When in reality, the line was 0 people long. And it did not exist. There is no line out the door to be dating the spoiled kid. Nobody wanted to do that, bro. He has no charisma. He's got no risk. He's got no game. He's got no nothing. He's got no play. Nothing, bro. Nada. Not a single speck of that, right? So Teddy's kind of just rolling his eyes oh, okay. Whatever, spoiled kid. Nice try, but she's not going to fall for it. So anyways, class begins, and, spoiled kid can't be talking throughout all of class without getting kicked out by the teacher, right? But, one would believe that. But the spoiled kid is, whispering, while the teacher's talking or whatever. He's like, hey, what's up, Kate?
Like, I just want to say, you looked really good in your dress today.
The teacher's like, sorry, spoiled kid, could you not talk during class, please? He's like, all right, sorry, teacher.
Hey, Kate,
He just, like, kept whispering, like, really loud. Like, you know when people whisper, but instead of going like this, they're like, hey, I'm just whispering right now. I'm like, dude, shut up. You're so loud. Just because you kind of make your voice hoarse or something, like make it kind of rough sounding, doesn't mean you're whispering, bro. You're basically whisper yelling at me. So yeah, the spoiled kid was basically whisper yelling at Kate the entire time, being like,
yeah, this is some really nice shoes you got on right now.
and the teacher's like, spoiled kid, can you please shut the fuck? No, I was kidding. He's like, spoiled kid's like, he's like, hey, can you please not interrupt class? This is the second time asking you. The third time I will ask you to step outside. Spoiled kid's like, yeah, okay. Mumbles under his breath, whatever, dude. At this point, Teddy's just watching the most failed Riz attempt on planet Earth. This is a 0 out of 10 Riz attempt. It's time to just retreat. Mission failed, we'll get him next time type moment. This is not going well for the spoiled kid, which is great and all. But the spoiled kid had a lot of confidence that maybe wasn't deserved. And by maybe wasn't deserved, I mean most definitely wasn't deserved. And this story is basically a saga of the spoiled kid versus the teacher, and this is the first arc of the story, as you will see very soon. This is basically episode 1 of Spoiled Kid versus the teacher. So the spoiled kid is trying to continue to talk to Kate, right? He's like,
so, Kate, have you gotten any updates on next Friday?
and remember, he like just asked her like 20 minutes ago, and she says, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be around next Friday, but I'll get back to you. Dude, like, how is she supposed to know at this point? She's literally been sitting in class next to you for the last 20 minutes. She's not been on her phone. She's not been home. She's not talked to anyone. Like, literally no time has passed at all. And he's like,
hey, Kate, I was wondering if Friday was free again.
like, of course it's not free, bro. You just asked. Chill out. And she kind of looks at him and shakes her head like, no, I don't know. And the teacher kind of notices the spoiled kid speak again, but I think the teacher wanted the spoiled kid, gave like the spoiled kid a unspoken like extra pass for that one. But obviously if you heard him speak again, it's time to get out of there, right? So the teacher's like speaking, talking about something, and at some point the teacher's like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I forgot to introduce our new student. I mean, I guess they were all new 7th graders, but, you know, Kate was the only new girl in the class who wasn't there last year. So the teacher thought it would be a good idea to introduce her in front of everyone. So the teacher's like, all right, Kate, not to put too much of a spotlight on you. I know this is kind of stressful, new to you, but if you could stand up and introduce yourself to the class. She's like, hey guys, like, my name's Kate. Like, I'm new here. I just moved here. I don't know, going on hikes. She just says stuff, right? And the spoiled kid speaks up. He's like,
and she's gonna go on a date with me this Friday, or next Friday, in my really cool car.
And Kate just turns bright red because, one, that's just not what anyone said. Actually, that's what the spoiled kid said. That is not what she agreed to or had any idea was like the deal or whatever. And also, second of all, I think she realized pretty quickly that being associated with the spoiled kid was not really a great way to make a first impression of people. Like, if people, like, you know, guilty by association, like if you associate with someone or something that's not good, then you're just going to become not good by association to that thing or person. Yeah, I think she realized pretty quickly that being associated with the spoiled kid was just going to be a really bad call because, yeah, just like the way he acted for the last 30 minutes kind of gave her the idea that, yeah, that's not what's good, right? So everyone goes dead silent. It's not like they were talking before, but, you know, there's kind of like a lively silence and a very awkward dead silence. It went from like a normal silence to like pure silence as everyone's just like, what did this kid just say?
Spoiled kid's like, yeah, you guys not hear me? Yeah, she's going on a date with me this and next Friday. My really cool car. Yeah.
And, you know, Kate's like, well, I don't know if I agree to that.
And he's like, she totally wants to, guys, as you can tell.
And the teacher clearly was not looking very happy. But he once again didn't say anything because he just kind of like bit his tongue or whatever. He's like, whatever. So she sits down and he goes back to teaching. And the spoiled kid leans over. He's like,
Hey, Kate. I just wanted, like, to make sure, like, next Friday still works with you, as you said it would.
And Kate's starting to get a little bit annoyed. She's like, I don't remember saying that it was okay. Like, that I never remember saying that I wanted to go on a date with you next Friday. I don't remember saying that.
He's like, what?
But in this time, the spoiled kid doesn't even start. He doesn't even whisper anymore. He just straight up is like,
What? But I thought you said you wanted to go on a date.
and the teacher turns around and is like, spoiled kid. And they kind of have a showdown. They're staring at each other. They're having a showdown. And the teacher's like, spoiled kid, I give you 2 warnings and let a lot of other things slip. But this is your 3rd strike. Stand outside. Spoiled kid's like,
but I was.
because like I think the spoiled kid was like upset because like he was rizzing, whatever you want to call it, Kate, right? Which is just not the case. He was failing, bro. I don't know how else to say it. But he was like,
But you can't do that, teacher. No, I'm just not going to do it.
Teacher's like, spoiled kid, I will give you a 0 on today's participation if you don't step outside right now. And the thing is, in that class, participation was like 50% of the grade. So even getting a 0 even on one day, which doesn't sound that bad, actually has a bit of an impact. And the spoiled kid's like,
well, I'm still staying here.
and the teacher's like, you will get a 0 on this month's participation, which basically meant the kid was going to get a C or below. And eventually spoiled kid stood up and is like, very upset. This was the beginning of a long saga of spoiled kid versus the teacher. Oh yeah. Anyways, moving on to the second arc of spoiled kid versus the teacher. There's a big test in this class. And so this is like 2 weeks after the Kate incident, right? Which is the very beginning of school. Actually, no, this is like a month after because it's the test, of course. So the test, like the first kind of test or whatever, happens about a month into school. The spoiled kid and the teacher in this time period have had a few mini spats with each other. But the first big thing was the Kate one, and the second big thing that led up to the final explosion, aka him knocking out his teacher, which we'll get to, is pretty crazy. But the second thing that led up to that, the first thing being the Kate one, but the second thing is as follows. So they had a really massive test about a month into school. And, or like, I guess a test. All tests are kind of massive. You know, if you only have a couple and they count for a lot of your grade. Anyways, though, so the spoiled kid is just not paying attention in class the whole time. He's like talking to this guy like in the back of the class. They're playing like, I don't know, cool math game, slither.io, like those kind of, those kind of like computer games, you just like the quick ones, not like a full intensive, like he's going to hop into a Call of Duty lobby or to start playing like, I don't know, Minecraft or something in class, like some of the Minecraft kids in the previous stories have done. No, he's not that crazy. He's not that out there. But he is playing like those kind of discrete games that you just play in class. Like, I've definitely done that a few times. But you know for a fact, if there's a massive test that I'm preparing for, or there's something massive that like I actually got to pay attention in class, you know for a fact that I'm not going to be playing one of those little distraction games in class. But sure enough, the spoiled kid was doing so. Which at the end of the day, I in my personal opinion, I think it's his, like, he can do what he wants, but he also has to realize that he will suffer the consequences for not paying attention in class, right? So sure enough, he does not pay any attention when the teacher is doing review. Like the teacher's legitimately doing just review for the test at this point. So yeah, it eventually comes to the day of the test, and the spoiled kid sits down. And he sits down next to, Teddy, actually. Remember, the subscriber who submitted the story. You can submit your own stories to my Instagram or Twitter. Just follow me there and then DM me your story. So he sits down next to Teddy. And Teddy is aware that the spoiled kid has not been in class for, like, the entire week. Or he has been in class, but he's been mentally somewhere else, right? And Teddy kind of sits down next to him, and Teddy's totally prepared. He's going to kill it or at least do all right. Like, if Teddy messes up big time and freezes and screws up everything, worst comes to worst, he might get a B. Like, he's going to kill it either way. And he sits down next to the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid is, like, very clearly looking over at Teddy's paper. And Teddy, like, looks back at him. And they make eye contact. Like, the spoiled kid is looking down at Teddy's paper, looks up at Teddy, and Teddy's just staring him down. The spoiled kid's like, oops. So, yeah, Teddy kind of, like, moves his elbow so that it makes it very, very difficult, if not impossible, for the spoiled kid to read his answers. And the spoiled kid's like, oh, crap. So yeah, the spoiled kid goes on to not really be able to answer any of the questions correctly. Yeah, the spoiled kid just kind of like fumbles around. He's like,
Well, maybe if I do... Wait, if this is multiple choice, can I just select all the answers and get partial credit? Damn it. Yeah.
Right, so the spoiled kid just does not do well on this test. And eventually he has to hand it in because he's the last one in class scribbling it down. And the teacher picks it up. And yeah, 3 days later, the teacher has all the tests graded. And the teacher's walking around the class. And the teacher's handing back these tests to all the students, right? So he hands them back to Teddy and his friends or whatever. And eventually gets over to the spoiled kid. And then when the spoiled kid gets it, he's like,
Ah, crap, dude.
and sure enough, right,
Spoiled kid's like, raises his hand and he's like, Mr. Teacher, Mr. Teacher.
and the teacher turns around and is like, oh, yes.
He's like, Sue, could you come over here for a second? I just have a question on number 3.
And the teacher's like, oh, okay, whatever. Teacher walks over to Teddy. And, not Teddy, sorry, the spoiled kid, who is sitting not next to Teddy, but close enough that Teddy can overhear what's happening. And so the teacher comes over to the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid's like,
Hey, Mr. Teacher. So, I'm not really that happy with the grade I got on the test. Could you help me out? Maybe bump me up 20 or so points?
and Teddy, when he overheard this, is just like, hey, yo, bro, what? You want to bump you up 20 points? Huh? You think he just like pulls these grades out of his butt or something? You think he just like random number generates these grades? Like, bro, they're attached to something. What are you talking about? So yeah, the teacher's like, no. I mean, spoiled kid really thought like, oh, I could just pull this off. And that's when the spoiled kid says, well,
I guess I thought you'd say that, so maybe this will help you reconsider.
Spoiled kid reaches into his pocket, pulls out his wallet, opens it up, and takes out a $20 bill. And starts waving it around. It's like,
Teacher, this will be in your desk by the end of the day if you promise that you will change my grade to a 100%.
not even bumping it up, just round it up to a 100%. And the teacher's looking at him with this blank face and is like, really? You're going to bribe me for a $20 bill? You know, if someone found this out, I could lose my entire job. I could lose my entire profession for $20.
And spoiled kid's like, yeah, it's like a whole $20. I mean, you're a teacher, so what do you get paid? Like $25 a year or something?
The teacher's like, no.
And spoiled kid's like, what?
Well, it's still a really good deal, and I would totally take it if I was you. And the teacher's like, no. First of all, I'm not going to risk my job for $20. Second of all, on the principle of the matter, no, I'm not going to do that. That's ridiculous. You're being ridiculous. And the spoiled kid's like,
what?
I think the spoiled kid, like, was totally fine failing the test. Or wasn't totally fine, but, like, kind of thought that, like, his plan B, which was bribing the teacher, was so, like, oh, he got that in the bag, bro. Like, he doesn't have to worry at all. But yeah, no, he does need to worry because the teacher failed him on the test and didn't take the bribe. At this point, the spoiled kid really does not like the teacher. He has major beef with the teacher. And all the next day, not the next day, but a couple days later, on that day, on what feels like a normal day, is about to be one of the craziest days in Teddy's school history. It's about to be the craziest day by far that Teddy's ever had at school. Because on that day is when the spoiled kid legitimately knocks out the teacher, dude. Yeah, not even kidding. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, you see I'm doing it a little later on. I normally do it like 10 minutes in. Now we're doing it like 20 minutes in. If you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That'll be the secret-ish word of the day. They're never that hard to guess, but it'll be the word of the day. Please comment them down below. I'll try and heart as many as I possibly can. And also, this video will be on Spotify too, as well as my future stories. In fact, you can kind of listen to them, some of them, an hour or two before they go up on Spotify. Also, follow the TikTok down below. I'll be posting my shorts on there, help out the channel. And finally, the best way to support the channel is to, one, finish this video all the way through, and then after you're done with that, go ahead and watch some more of my older videos. A really easy way to do that is to go watch older videos from my Storytime playlist, which will be linked in the pinned comment down below. Please comment down below if you are watching my old videos or binge watching the videos, as it really supports the channel, and I will try and heart your comment and say thank you for doing such. Anyways, let's get to the point where this kid knocks out his teacher, bro. This is why you all came here. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? No, I didn't think so. So this all started in what felt like a normal day. After all this has gone on, obviously. And the spoiled kid was late for class. And I know in like college and in some high schools, but specifically in college, you can get away with being late for class, especially if it's a lecture class where like the teacher doesn't even really know who you are and they don't take attendance. You can even just like not show up for every day except the exams and you'd be fine. But in most high schools and middle schools, and at least in my high school and middle school, attendance was a really big deal, and you would get really penalized for being late or being, I don't know, for just not attending enough or whatever. And that was true for this middle school as well. So the spoiled kid was late. And this wasn't the first period of the day, because then he could say, oh, I got in late, therefore I am late, sorry about that. But instead, he just, this was like middle of the day. He just did not feel like showing up to the class because he didn't like the teacher so much. So the spoiled kid came in very salty. Like when the spoiled kid opened the door, he didn't simply open the door. He slammed that door open, bro. He got that whap. He just got the door. Boom. Door is slammed open. So he already was pretty clearly not having the greatest day ever, which that happens to all of us, man. We've all been there. Life happens like that sometimes. It is what it is. But yeah, sure enough, the spoiled kid comes in, boom, slams the door open, which, bro, if I'm late to class, I'm opening that door as quietly as possible. I'm not trying to make a disturbance. I'm not trying to run in. That reminds me, one time my freshman year, someone was late and the teacher was doing a presentation, and instead of just coming in quietly and sitting down, guy opens up the door, says, "I'm so sorry, I'm late." And everyone turns, the teacher turns, everyone's looking at him. The flow of the presentation is completely interrupted. Like, bro really played himself trying to be more nice about it, but whatever, right? So he slams the door open. I bet the spoiled kid just got rejected by some girl or something. So he was not in a good mood. And he already didn't like this teacher that much. And the thing is also, the spoiled kid must have I don't know why, but instead of having his backpack on his back, he was holding the very top of the backpack, it has a little handle. He was holding it on the handle. And his backpack was full of books. So it was very heavy, right? This is important for just a second later. A teacher, instead of just ignoring it, which maybe the teacher in retrospect should have just ignored this. But yeah, the teacher doesn't end up just ignoring it. And, the teacher is turns, he's like, spoiled kid, you know what I feel about attendance and being late to class. I'm going to have to write this up and send this to the front office. And the spoiled kid must have had other demerits or whatever, because I think if you were late enough, you eventually had to do you either weren't allowed to have a free period or you had to spend your free period helping out, I don't know, in the kitchen or something. Or, I don't know, for some reason there was some kind of punishment. It wasn't like you're getting expelled for being late to class, but it was still something. It was definitely something big enough and annoying enough that the spoiled kid didn't want to deal with it. So the spoiled kid does something absolutely crazy. I guess he just wasn't having a good day, because the spoiled kid is he's like, I'm going to give you one chance. I'm going to give you one chance to take that back. And teacher's like, no. Just what? Bro, what are you saying? The spoiled kid's like, fine, then you've sealed your own destiny. And the spoiled kid, I guess, was close enough to the teacher. He takes the backpack, he swings it behind him, and just full force, going a very powerful swing and just letting momentum run, just whips the backpack around in the air, and just boom, clean collision with the teacher's head, boom. And the thing is, there was enough heavy textbooks in there, and while this kid wasn't some big bodybuilder football guy, he swung it around, and momentum, plus just how heavy the backpack was enough that when it made collision with the teacher's head, bum, out cold. Teacher literally falls back and collapses on the floor. The entire class goes dead silent. And the spoiled kid kind of realizes that he just messed up big. And he's like, oh my God, guys, my backpack just slipped out of my hands. How did that happen? no, everyone in the class, including Teddy, very clearly saw him just whack the teacher in the head with a backpack and knock him out cold. The teacher comes to in the next 30 seconds. He wasn't out for like forever, right? And the teacher's like grasping onto his head. He's like, "Jaw, what just happened?" And some kids are running up to the teacher. These two kids kind of stand between the teacher and the spoiled kid, and kind of just like, hey, like kind of just like to make sure that he didn't attack him again, even though it was pretty clear I don't think the spoiled kid was going to do that or anything like that again. And, you know, the teacher's like starting to get his memory back. He's like, "Wait a minute. Did that kid?" And he points at the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid has the backpack in his hand. It's very clear that he's looking super guilty. And the teacher's like, "Give me my phone." So one of the kids reaches over, gets his phone. The teacher calls up the security. He's like, "I need you to come down to the class right now." So sure enough, a couple minutes later, teacher's still sitting on the floor. Two security guards come in and say, "What happened?" And yeah, the teacher says, "Yeah, see that kid right there?" Points to the spoiled kid. "He just hit me over the head with his backpack and knocked me out cold for like 30 seconds or something." So immediately the two security guards go up to the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid's like,
Guys, it slipped out of my hand. It wasn't my fault.
and just like literally grab his backpack and then grab him basically and are pushing him out into the hallway. He's like,
Guys, no. It slipped out of my hand. It wasn't my fault.
and so yeah, all the kids were just kind of sitting there, and the teacher's like, "Oh God, I should really get this checked up." Teacher says, "All right, guys, I did have a lesson plan today, but I should really just go to the health center, get this checked up, maybe get some aspirin. My head is not feeling great. Maybe get a concussion test. I don't even know at this point. Anyways, yeah, class is canceled today. Go about your business, whatever you're gonna do, and yeah." So yeah, the spoiled kid was suspended for an entire week. He was also forced to sit in the back of the class, and it was very awkward for the rest of that year. And yeah, that is the saga of the spoiled kid versus
Click on the video on
teacher.
screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have a story of a spoiled kid who gets his parents to sue the teacher because the teacher failed him on a test that he failed because the spoiled kid didn't study. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. The whole school basically went into like a lockdown type situation during the court case. This was an absolutely insane story that I know you'll enjoy, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, drop a like in the video to claim your free nothing. And with that all being said, let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Nathan. So anyways, there's a kid in Nathan's class who we're just going to call the spoiled kid. Everyone knew that this kid came from money, and like serious money. I don't mean like his parents were like, I don't know, semi-successful businessmen or lawyers or anything like that. I mean serious money. However, it was always kind of rumored that the money was a little, how do you put it, suspicious, like kind of like a mafia type money or whatever. Obviously, or not obviously, but that was never confirmed or anything. It was always kind of a rumor, but it was always kind of the unknown saying that this kid came from very suspicious money. And his parents were always kind of a little dodgy as well. On the subscriber, what do I call him? Nathan remembers that on what do your parents do for a job day? Because not day or whatever, but like for one of his classes, you'd go around and you'd say what your parents do for work or whatever, or what they are or what they do or something like that. He said the most suspicious type jobs. Like his mom was just like stay-at-home mom, which is totally fine, totally fair. But his dad was like a businessman who travels the world and does things. And it never got more specific than that. When the teacher asked what kind of business, the kid literally responded business. And other than that, it wasn't just that made him suspicious. It was a lot of other things. However, this story all starts when the class that Nathan has with the spoiled kid has a really big exam. So Nathan and the spoiled kid were both taking calculus in their junior year, which is it's pretty intense math for high schoolers, at least. I know that I never took calculus in high school, and I mean, I'm taking the whole series right now, and it's pretty difficult. But anyways, this was definitely a class that you needed to study for and you need to prepare for if you're going to do well in it. Of course, unless you've already taken calc before, then you don't. But anyways, there was a really big exam coming up, and the spoiled kid was not even showing up to class for half the days. The days that he did show up, he just wasn't really paying attention, which is actually all right if you're if you can study this stuff well on your own. It honestly doesn't really matter. If the teacher isn't teaching it well and you can teach yourself better, then that's totally fine. However, it was pretty clear that this kid was not going to do well in the class. And the thing is, right, there was a major test coming up that was going to have a really big impact on the grade. They only had 2 tests and a final, and the test and the final combined were worth like 80% of the grade. So if you bombed one of these, you were going to fail the class. So the day of the test, you know, the spoiled kid comes in late, whatever, basically completely unprepared. And yeah, spoiler, it did not go well. But I gotta say something. We got a sponsor today, baby. Let's go. Gentlemen, did you know that 85% of women want men to manscape below the belt? They're not going to like you if you don't do it, dude. Thankfully, I got the solution for you because today, this video is sponsored by Manscaped.com. Look, guys, I'm just going to be honest. If you ever want a chance of having a girlfriend, ever, you can't be stinky down there. You can't just have odor coming out of you. But thankfully, I got a solution for you. This is where Manscaped comes in and will solve your problem. The Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped is the perfect solution to this. To make sure that you're all nice and trim and not stinking the place up, we got something cool. Take a look at this. I mean, of course, unless you're trying to smell like a Discord mod, but that's up to you. That's your own decision at this point. And you might be a little scared. It's a little scary putting this thing down there. However, there is no need to fear because Manscaped has no nick, no scrape technology. So you're going to be just all right. This thing is cordless, wireless, and LED lights. But the performance package, believe it or not, comes with even more than just this. First, we have the crop preserver. It's going to make your balls smell nice, gentlemen, and you got to make sure that they're smelling nice down there or just bad things are going to happen. Just trust me on that. And also included is the Crop Reviver, a little spray type thing that'll make sure you're smelling good down there for hours, keeping it nice and cool, and making sure that nobody around you collapses from just how bad it smells, which you don't want that to be happening, trust me. Probably one of my favorite items has to be the nose and ear hair trimmer. I mean, just take a look at this. I mean, no one wants a bush in your nose. I mean, that's all I'm saying. So we got you covered. And also you might be thinking, well, this sounds great, but do I happen to get 2 free gifts when I purchase for a limited time? Well, you do. For a limited time, when you purchase the performance package, you will get 2 free gifts. Pretty great, right? You will be getting the Shed travel bag and the Manscaped anti-chafing boxers. Let me show you those. Travel bag will make sure that you're putting, you got all your stuff in one place. And the anti-chafing boxers, well, I think it's in the name what they do. Go to manscaped.com to get 20% off, plus free international shipping, plus 2 free gifts. It's just too good when you use code PUGS20 at manscaped.com. Link down below. Your balls and body and future self, when you actually get a girlfriend, will thank you. Anyways, so today is the day of the major test, the major calculus test that both the spoiled kid and Nathan have. And remember, if you do poorly on this test, you will do poorly overall. You will not have a good grade if you do not do well on this test. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care if you get 120% of the final. It's not going to help you out. So the spoiled kid comes in literally 10 minutes late to the exam. And this was a type of exam where you needed to squeeze out every single second you can get, that you are probably going to be finishing when the time is up. I've always thought it was much better when teachers gave you like ample time to finish. Like if they were going to make a 60-minute long test, they would give you 80 minutes to do it. And if they only had 60 minutes, then only make a 40-minute long test. You can't figure out exactly how long it's going to take everyone to do it. So might as well, undershoot than overshoot. However, this teacher was not like that. And this test was very difficult and you needed every second. However, very clearly, the spoiled kid did not do well in this exam. Even Nathan was looking over. And this kid was on like page 1, scribbling some stuff down, kind of looking like he was freaking out a little bit. So a couple days later, the teacher was walking around, or kind of like walking around the class with the graded exams. Hands it back to Nathan, he gets a B. Nathan's very proud of this. This was a difficult class and he spent a lot of time and he was worthy of the B. And the teacher went around and handed it back to the spoiled kid. And Nathan looked over because Nathan was kind of curious to see what expression the spoiled kid would have on his face, because Nathan made the assumption that the spoiled kid was not going to be performing the best on this exam. And Nathan was correct. The spoiled kid, he had this kind of like shocked look at first, which I'm not sure why you'd be so shocked. Maybe you're like, dang, I definitely got a C, and you ended up getting like a 20% or something. But anyways, this kid was not happy with the score. So he raises his hand. And the teacher's like, yeah. And he's like, kind of like motions for the teacher to come over to him. And he's kind of like, okay. It's a little weird, but all right. And so the teacher walks over, and the spoiled kid kind of like whispers something into his ear, and the teacher kind of shakes his head no. Nathan doesn't hear exactly what it is, but I think the spoiled kid would have been like, can I do anything to change this? Or you made a mistake. Or for some reason, probably asking to change the grade in some way. And the teacher is kind of indicating that no, that's not how it goes. So the spoiled kid said the second part a little bit louder. He said something Nathan doesn't remember verbatim what this kid said, but Nathan knows that he said something basically along the lines of this. The kid basically goes, you're not going to want to fail me on this. Trust me. And the teacher kind of responds to this, as teachers probably should, of like did you just threaten me, bro? Not bro, but did you just threaten me, kid? Like, you serious? Like, I'm the one giving out the grades, and you're just some, like, snot-nosed kid. Like, come on now. And I don't know exactly what the teacher said, but he said something along the lines of that, basically saying, don't go around threatening me. And the kid says, look, I don't want your life to be miserable, but it definitely can be if you don't help me out here. Look, we both want the same thing, you to have a good life and me to have a good life. If you help me out here, that won't be an issue. And the teacher kind of laughs this off and says, all right, well, you better study well for your next test if you want to have a good life in this class, and walks away. And the spoiled kid kind of shrugs his shoulders, and the teacher thinks nothing of it, and Nathan thinks nothing of it, because in most situations, this would literally mean nothing. First of all, it'd be pretty weird in the first place for a kid to be threatening a teacher like this, but to actually think that the kid would follow through and do something, that's kind of out there. I'm not going to lie, that is kind of out there. However, right, he does do something about it, and he does do something pretty crazy. So anyways, the next day comes around, and Nathan's sitting in class, and the spoiled kid is late. And Nathan just assumes that the spoiled kid is just not trying to come to class, as he skips it like 3/4 of the time anyways, so this wasn't anything out of the blue. But when the spoiled kid comes through the door, it is Nathan was not prepared for what he was to see. It was the spoiled kid followed by two older men in suits. Full buttoned up suits. You got the suit jacket, you got the shiny black shoes, you got the hair slicked back, parted on the left, a very standard lawyer attire. And immediately, Nathan realizes that something is up. So at this point, one of the lawyers goes up to the teacher and says, like, Mr. Davenport, or we'll make that his name, Mr. Davenport, you are officially being served. Which, if you don't know what it means to be served, it's when someone wants to sue you. You have to give them a piece of legal, I don't know the law that well, but I'm not a law student, right? Gives them a legal document saying that you need to show up in court or whatever. And you need to physically do it, I think. I don't totally know why that is a thing, but I think you need to physically go up and get them. I know that there's a lot of videos of people trying to avoid being served. So they'll they'll dodge people trying to give them whatever, right? And sure enough, the teacher is stunned. The whole class is stunned, understandably. And Nathan is stunned. I mean, this kid just literally served his teacher over failing him on an assignment. Doesn't get more spoiled kid than that. So the teacher looks at the spoiled kid and is like, what is the meaning of this? Why? Why are you suing me? And the spoiled kid goes on to say that, that you caused him extensive emotional damages and that he has the resources and lawyers that can prove such. And the teacher's like, you didn't study for my exam, and your grade reflects how well you studied. That is literally it. And this kid goes, well, I don't know, man. I think I have the people that can argue in the court of law otherwise. And the kid leaves and walks out with his two lawyers. And after class, the word spread so quickly. I get it. Someone comes into class and sues your teacher for failing them on an assignment. I feel like I would tell literally everyone about that as well. That's freaking crazy right there. Yeah, so sure enough, word spreads incredibly fast, incredibly quickly. Everybody is talking about that. There's nothing else that's really being talked about at this point. And yeah, teachers start to get involved, the whole staff, basically the entire school, including the staff, faculty, whatever, are made alert by the end of the week. So Nathan gets in the car, and his mom is like, the first thing she says, right? He gets in the car right after class. The first thing Nathan's mom says is, did you hear about did you hear about the case that's going on? And Nathan's like, how did you hear so quickly? Like, it literally my teacher was just served in class today. And immediately Nathan's mom, like, it was your teacher? He's like, yeah. And she's like, so you know the student who served this guy? And he's like, yes. And she's like, you do know he comes from a very, like, wealthy family. And he's like, yeah. Isn't their money kind of suspicious, though? And she's like, yeah, that's kind of what all the other moms were saying on Facebook. But then again, when moms say something on Facebook, I don't necessarily take that as a pure fact. I think that makes sense, though. So yeah, they talk about it, and the next day, or whenever they get back to school, if this was a weekend, obviously, of the day in school, right? So Nathan goes to his math class, as usual. Mr. Davenport was not there, and instead was a substitute teacher. Understandably, Mr. Davenport had a little bit to do right now, and the spoiled kid was actually in class. But the craziest thing was when Nathan walked in the class, the craziest thing wasn't the fact that the spoiled kid was there before him, which had, I think, literally never happened before, but it's the fact that the spoiled kid was not sitting alone. Next to him was a man in a suit, presumably one of his lawyers. Yeah, the spoiled kid literally brought a lawyer to his math class. And the thing is, I bet this kid skips this class most of the time. I bet this kid really wanted to show up to math class with his lawyer so he could show everyone that not to mess with him because he'd sue you. He has the money to sue you, man, or something like that. Yeah, and from here, it only escalates and gets crazier. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart as many of those comments as possible. I may not have the time, but either way, make sure to comment that down below. Subscribe if you're new. I'm posting these videos back on the Spotify. Sorry for the little delay. I just kind of forgot to do it. So these videos will be on Spotify. It's in the description as well. I'm posting my shorts on TikTok. Go follow me on there. It's in the description. And finally, the best way to support the channel is to binge watch these videos. So after this one, go ahead and watch my older videos and tell me in the comments how many of my older videos you watched today or this week or what you do while watching my videos. I love to hear it. Anyways, let's get back to the story as things are getting quite interesting. So anyways, the spoiled kid is sitting in class and with his lawyer, right? And Nathan turns over to one of his friends in class. He's like, dude, like, this is so ridiculous. And his friend's like, yeah, wait, talk to me after class. Like, I learned something interesting. And he's like, oh, okay. So after class, Nathan goes out and his friend kind of catches him. He's like, yo, like, I don't know if this is 100% true. I don't know if this is 100% like factual. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I did hear. And then his friend goes on to tell Nathan something pretty crazy. I'm not going to lie. Pretty crazy, pretty out there. So this kid goes on to tell Nathan that, that the spoiled kid is not messing around. And that apparently, like, his father really wants him to get into insert X, really expensive Ivy League, prestigious whatever school. And that if this kid comes out with an F in his calc class, that's going to be damaging to whatever, and that whatever, right? That's going to make college admissions very difficult. So this guy, like this, his dad, is actually very, very, very much going to sue this guy unless he changes the grade. And it was initially going to be a bluff, but I think that to make sure that they can pull this bluff in the future, they're going through with it. And they actually have, like, the most expensive, the most ridiculous lawyers that will find a way to argue for, like, emotional damages. They will find a way to argue for it. Is it a guaranteed win? Absolutely not, because this case is ridiculous. However, this is, like, a legitimate thing. Like, this is a legitimate court case. Because for a little bit, Nathan thought that this was just, I don't know, like a massive bluff, right? A massive bluff. You pay someone to come in, or you pay a lawyer to hand someone a piece of paper that seems all official because it has all this legal jargon on it, but in reality, it means nothing. I mean, that can't be too difficult to do. You just go to your dad's legal office, type in, if you don't give me an A in this class, I will sue you for $1 trillion from the legal office or whatever, making it look all official, but in reality, it has no basis. So yeah, for the next week in school, it is the weirdest week Nathan has ever experienced. Why is this? Well, basically what happens for the next week is the administration slash the school is super worried that this court case is going to it's going to leak out of just being on this teacher, and it's going to be placed on the school as well. Like, they're afraid that the whole school is going to get wrapped up in the lawsuit. So it's basically like a semi-lockdown. Like, it's not a full-on lockdown every single day, obviously, right? But in every single class, there is like multiple teachers. There's like, for every teacher, there are at least one faculty member, right? There's at least one faculty member, almost to like make sure that nothing bad happens. And the math class that Nathan was in was put on, like, not suspension, but was told that they won't be meeting for the near future, right? Indefinitely not meeting. So for at least the next week, Nathan does not have math class, right? He does not have his calculus class because they don't even want to risk anything. And apparently all the classes that the spoiled kid is in mysteriously all stop happening at the same time. I think the school was just on super freak out mode, and they're like, if any teacher says anything, they'll be added to the case, and then might as well round it up and just put the whole school in there as well, or something like that. So for the next week, it was the strangest time at school at all. Like, it was so weird. And like during lunch, it was almost like a prison lunch, bro. Like, there was like faculty and staff around the tables making sure nothing weird happened. And especially there was a ton of faculty and staff around the spoiled kids table, which was him and two of his like friends that he met because he's been like living there forever, or family friends or whatever, right? And his like lawyers are sitting at the table. It is the strangest, weirdest, and a pretty uncomfortable environment, to be honest. So Nathan is honestly just ready for this all to be over. So, on the weekend, he meets up with one of his friends, and of course, like, the big thing on everyone's mind is this court case, because it is taking up, it's taking up a lot of time in school. It's the big crazy thing, whatever, right? And so sure enough, they decide that, they're going to look up, or they're going to try and figure out like where it's being held, or trying to figure out just more about it. So they look online, and there's like articles, there's like news articles or whatever being printed about it, and they're very, very local papers. It doesn't hit mainstream or anything, and it never does. However, in like some very local, there's like the school newspaper, and then a super local newspaper that is kind of like, rebroadcast school newspapers or whatever. It's being covered. They're trying to figure out more about it. But this is also when Nathan and his friend decided to do a little bit of digging into the spoiled kid's like family or whatever. And they're starting to find they find little hints of like really weird stuff. They never come to a conclusion. So unfortunately, I don't have some great they were in the mafia type thing. But there was definitely some indications that, I'm not saying it was blood money, but I'm also not saying it was not blood money at some point. You know what I mean? Like, it was definitely very sus, and there was some articles about adjacent family members being arrested for X, Y, and Z, and the money in offshore accounts, and all this kind of stuff. So things are pretty crazy. So Nathan goes into school the next day, and he doesn't get an email saying that his calculus class is not happening, because every single day of the week before, he got an email saying, hey, it's just not a thing, okay? But this day he doesn't. So he decides to stop by his calculus class, assuming he's not going to see anyone in there. However, he goes in there, and you know who he sees? Mr. Davenport. Mr. Davenport is back to teaching. The whole school also felt really normal walking in, but he just kind of assumed that this was just, so early in the morning that they weren't all locked down type whatever. But Mr. Davenport was starting a lesson. He's like, oh, Nathan, come on in. I'm just starting now. Nathan walks into his calculus class, completely thrown off guard, because at this point, he was almost convinced that, I'm probably never going to have calculus class for the rest of the year. I'm going to have to self-study for the AP now. I guess it's kind of cool not to have that class every day. It's just not always, the most useful thing. Hopefully, they just slap an A on my report card because of what happened. But no. Class is starting up again. So Nathan walks in and he sits down, and there's one kid who's not in attendance for this class, which is surprising. I thought more kids would just assume it would be done, but apparently every kid except one kid is not there. Can you guys guess which kid was not there? If you guess the spoiled kid, you're correct. The spoiled kid was the only kid who wasn't in attendance. It's crazy, right? So all of a sudden, he turns to his friend. He's like, yo, what? His friend's like, dude, huge updates. I'll tell you after class. So anyways, class is done. He gets out. And also, once he's walking out, like, Mr. Davenport is looking so confident, so, like, kind of happy with himself, looking back to normal, basically. The friend stops him outside the class. And he's like, yo, dude, you got to hear this. So obviously Nathan's like, yeah, what's good? And his friend goes on to say, yeah, so basically what happened was the whole thing was starting to go down this weekend. And it was like preliminary court type stuff. By the way, I'm going to mess up some of this stuff because I'm not a legal expert. And this was told to me over Instagram DMs by another guy, by the subscriber who submitted this, who also isn't a legal expert, who heard it from a friend who isn't a legal expert, who heard it from someone else. Okay, this is going down the grapevine, many iterations and many iterations of people who don't know what they're talking about. So some of this is going to be a little bit messed up, but I'm going to do my best to give you the best explanation of what happened. So essentially, it was like a very preliminary, like basic, like introduction to like the court process or whatever. And when this whole thing was put before a judge, apparently the judge was like so infuriated by like looking at like the case or whatever that he did two things. First of all, he dismissed it outright. He didn't even want to hear it. He thought it was ridiculous. And I think somehow he had the power to just not even hear it. And just to say that like this isn't even a breach of law, this is ridiculous. However, the judge was so mad by the way that like these people were trying to waste the court's time that he like was just like, he's just like, I think he told one of his like staff or secretary or it was some, I don't know, intern working for him or something, just be like, look into these people. Like, these people are like ridiculous trying to sue for this. Like, is there, like, do they have a history of this? Because I think the judge at first was like, oh, is there like a history of like them doing this or whatever, so I can like try and prove a reason not to hear from them in the future. But apparently, and I don't have specific details on this, but apparently one of the interns started to find reports and court filings and just little stuff, right, about this family, about like some kind of fraud or strange activities. And the judge is like, I want to see a full-scale investigation to this. I think it was put to the sidelines before, maybe someone that the family knew worked there and they had some kind of connection to them or something. But yeah, now that the judge was angry about this and somehow the intern was able to sift through or sort through all the files or something, they're going into a full investigation into this family for various things. It was like reported up to the FBI or something. It was like, at this point, I do not have an update on what has happened. I think it's all very much behind closed doors. Nathan doesn't know if anything fully happened. All he knows is word got out that like a full, like that not only did the case get thrown out, but also a full investigation into the family has started. So moral of the story is don't sue someone for something stupid, and also study for your tests or you will fail. Yeah. Help the channel out by leaving a like and watching.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of probably one of the most spoiled girls ever. You guys probably think that you know some person who's really spoiled and entitled and has done some pretty crazy stuff. Well, take that person, think of them, and multiply it by 100, and that is the girl in today's video. You are not going to want to miss this, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, drop a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's jump right into it. So anyways, we're going to call the We're going to call the girl who submitted this story Louise. Louise from Bob's Burgers, a show that I like. Anyways, right, there's another girl in Louise's class who we're going to call Lexi, right? So anyways, a little backstory on Lexi, because Lexi's the spoiled girl. I'm either going to call her the spoiled girl or I'm going to call her Lexi. Either way, whichever I'm feeling, right? Anyways, this all started, people kind of knew her as the spoiled girl, but people really, and I mean really knew her the spoiled girl after this incident a couple weeks ago. So basically the teacher, or Louise and Lexi were in the same class, and the teacher was asking just a very broad general, I don't know why this question was being asked. I didn't get any context about what the class was, but for some reason the teacher asked, what are some compromises your parents have made? Like, I legit don't know what the class was, but for some reason that was asked. And, people went around and Someone was like, one of my parents like sold a car because like they could only afford like to have one anymore. Some people said like, you know, my mom and dad are divorced, and, you know, they came together for my, I don't know, they came together for my birthday party and settled their differences so that I could have a good time. So really like solid, wholesome replies. Some people just didn't have any like some people didn't have any deep answers. Like they're like, oh, you know, we didn't know what to get to eat, so we had Italian or something. I don't know, like stuff like that. But Lexi's response was the interesting one. Because Lexi said, you know, oh yeah, no, like recently this crazy thing happened. My mom wanted to go to a 5-star resort in Hawaii, and my dad wanted to go to a 5-star resort in Mexico. So we decided that we go to a 5-star resort in the Bahamas. It took a lot of like fighting back and forth, but eventually my parents came together and made a really big compromise. And everyone's looking at her. You know that meme where like everyone's looking back with that face at someone, right? Insert that meme right here, because everyone was like, bro. Hey, yo, bro. First of all, what? Second of all, was it necessary? Was it necessary that you had to add in the fact that you were going to a 5-star resort? That literally just says, oh yeah, I'm spending a lot of money because I'm going on vacation, and I'm spending even more money because I'm specifying that I'm going to an expensive hotel.
I'm not going to a poor person hotel. I'm going to an expensive one. Wah, wah, wah.
Like, bro, like at that point, bro, you might as well just take out your wallet and throw your Amex black cards at the faces of the people around you, bro. So anyways, that's a little context of Lexi. This all started a week later after that. So they were put in random groups for whatever this class was about, and Louise and Lexi were put in a group together. And Louise and Lexi didn't really know each other before this, but Louise is a very, I don't know, she's a very open and friendly person, and she was ready and very willing to give Lexi the benefit of the doubt. And so they're in their group or whatever, and they kind of finish their work early, and they just start talking, or at least Louise starts a conversation. And at first, Lexi actually seems very nice. And that's one thing. Lexi is an interesting spoiled kid because unlike some of the other spoiled kids I've told on the channel before, Lexi isn't like evil. I mean, none of them are really evil, but Lexi isn't like a mean person. She just says stuff and doesn't realize how out of touch with reality she is when she says it. And things were actually going really well between Louise and Lexi. Louise was starting to like, I don't know, she's starting to like her, be like, oh, we actually have a lot in common, at least when they didn't talk about where they bought their clothes or where they went on vacation. At least they didn't have a lot in common then, or if they spoke about that. But, you know, they're just talking about how, oh, Mr. Who and so is so difficult, or, oh my God, like, did you hear about what happened with the teacher? They got exposed, all that kind of stuff. And they were hitting it off really well. And for some reason, Lexi brings up, and yeah, you know what? And if this school ever if anything ever happens that I don't like this school would not, like, if I threaten them, they would definitely comply, because they know that if I threaten to sue them, like, I got the resources to back it up. And bro just said, and like at this point, Louise was just looking at her like, you were doing so good. You were doing so good for so long, and then you had to whip that out. This girl, Lexi, really came out and said, oh, if the school ever does something that I don't like, I'm going to tell them that my parents will sue them, and the school will back down to my demands because they know that my parents have money like that. Yeah, this girl was really like that, bro. So immediately Louise was like, looks like this girl is just like how I thought she would be. But whatever, right? So they keep on having a conversation, but Louise is definitely a bit more like, bro, are you serious right now? She's kind of in that type of like, okay, whatever, right? We're just going to power through the rest of this day, or the rest of this the last video. I'm making a lot of videos right now. We're just going to power through the rest of this conversation. And, you know, unfortunately, the rest of the conversation was actually really cool. I say unfortunately because the thing that she said, Louise was legit going to try and become friends with Lexi after this. But then, you know, Louise actually is pretty happy that she didn't become friends with Lexi, because Lexi was about to go down just completely fall off a cliff reputation-wise. So as I said earlier, and by the examples I gave you guys, Lexi was already kind of known as like one of the spoiled kids and entitled kids or whatever you want to call them, right? So she always had a bit of that reputation. However, she also had a bit of a reputation that she was like very nice. Or not very nice, but just like not like a cruel, mean-spirited person. But that is until a couple days later, they got a test back in the class that they had. Remember, I don't know what class this is, but, this is the one that Louise has with Lexi. And the teacher was walking around, handing back these tests. And Lexi was kind of just sitting there. And, she gets the test back. And Louise looks over, and she sees this expression on Lexi's face. And it is incredibly clear that Lexi is not very happy. She's not having a good time. She is not a happy camper right now, to say the very least. Yeah, so anyways, right, at this point, Lexi, who already went on a rampage about how her parents will sue the school, right, Lexi goes on to raise her hand, and raise it like, kind of like shake it around a little bit, kind of do it like pretentiously or whatever, and the teacher turns around and walks back, and Lexi's like, I think you made a mistake on this one, and, Louise is overhearing the entire thing, and the teacher's like, no, I don't think I made a mistake on this one. This adds up. This is like the grade you got. And he's like, no, I don't think so, actually. I think you're going to want to check this over again. And she was saying it with this like really annoying voice and was like, bro, what do you, like, you're not the one with the power dynamic here, bro. Your teacher's the one giving you the grades. But the teacher's like, no, this is your grade. This is like what you got. I can check it over again, but I guarantee you it would be the same. And I think Lexi kind of just assumed that this teacher would bow down to her because she had rich parents. Because Lexi looked all shocked and confused. She's like, what? And she turns to the teacher and she's like, do you know what happens when people cross me? And Louise is overhearing the whole thing. And Louise kind of looks around and like no one else is paying attention. It's like no one else is even paying attention to what's going on right now, bro. And Louise continues to like listen in on the conversation, obviously, because it's very interesting. And Lexi's like, this is abuse of a student right here, and points to like her grade. And my parents have a team of lawyers, and they will sue. And just so you know, we will keep fighting in court until we win, either by the court of law saying that we win, or before you quit, because we won't stop. At this point, the teacher looks at her and is like, all right, bring it on, bro. And Lexi just gives her this look of like complete shock because no one has ever stood up to her before in her entire life. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. I know that's the secret word I use in most spoiled kid videos, but I'm not trying to trick you guys with a secret word. I'm just trying to give you all a word so you can comment it, and I can heart it as many of them as I possibly can. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing. And if you want to support the channel, after you're done watching this video or later on in the day, go ahead and watch a bunch of my old videos. An easy way to do that is the pinned comment down below is a playlist of all my videos. And also make sure to comment down below how many videos of mine you've watched today or this week. It's really cool to see you guys say, oh, I've watched 10 videos or something, because that really does help out the channel. Anyways, though, let's get back to it. So the teacher holds her ground firmly. However, a couple days later, and this is alleged at this point, but this is just what Louise heard, that the Lexi's grade was actually changed by the teacher because Lexi forged some, or like had her parents send in some kind of like official document or something that like this teacher would be taken to court. And word spread really quickly about this. Like, this was low-key a scandal, bro. Because, like, everyone was talking about it. Everyone was talking about the spoiled girl who, like, threatened to sue her teacher because she got a bad grade. And Lexi's rep just plummeted. And unfortunately, I think the grade was actually changed because even though it was a faulty case, I think the teacher realized that, giving this girl a bad grade even though she deserved it versus probably the thousands of dollars of legal fees for a false, court case or whatever against a family that had unlimited money, it wasn't, bro, on a teacher salary, you're not taking an indefinite court case, bro. You hate to see it. So at this point, all, the kids are starting to, not like Lexi that much. Then we thought that, she was kind of, I don't know, kind of like a spoiled kid or whatever, but they never thought that she was like the worst person ever. Now they were kind of thinking that she was pretty bad because word started to spread that she was threatening to sue her teacher because she got a bad grade. And the thing is, nobody liked that. Nobody thought that was cool, and yeah. So things were looking pretty bad for Lexi, but Lexi legitimately buried, she dug the grave that she was about to step in and dig herself, and literally fill in the hole, bro. She was about to KO herself. She was about to do herself in with this. Because you guys might have thought, wow, the last couple of things I heard, that's something that like a really spoiled kid would do. You guys are not ready for what you're about to hear. Strap in, get your, cringe, is the right word. Get your cringe goggles on so that you don't get any cringe radiation poisoning at this point, because it's actually that bad. Yeah. So anyways, right, it's Lexi's birthday. She is turning 16. The big 1-6. You know what I did for my big 16th birthday party? I came downstairs. My mom had a nice little candle thing. It had my name in letters. It was actually really nice. My favorite thing for my birthday would every day I'd come down and I would my parents would have something set up and there'd be like a little card and everything. It was legit the greatest. However, I was not getting I was not getting a private jet for my 16th birthday, bro. I can never understand why people are like, well, my God, my mom didn't buy me a house for my 16th birthday. I'm turning 16. Yeah, bro, you're turning 16. Time to go get a job, bro. That's all I'm trying to say. But anyways, right, it's her 16th birthday. And because Lexi's family is Lexi's family, she knows that she's going to get a really big present. And for a lot of girls who, their parents want to dish out a ton of money on their 16th birthday, a pretty common present is a car. And by common, I don't mean common every 16-year-old gets a car. Bro, I'm saying, if you got, insanely rich parents, they may or may not give you a car, bro. That's pretty crazy. And especially, Lexi didn't want any old car. She doesn't want a beater car. If the car costs less than $20,000, it's basically straight to the scrapyard for you. No. She wanted a very specific car. And basically, Lexi's dad was going to quote-unquote surprise her. I think Lexi told her dad to show up in front of everyone with a gift so that they could see it and feel jealous or something. But anyways, Lexi's dad was going to quote-unquote surprise her in the parking lot when everyone, when the bell rang and everyone went outside, her magic big car was going to be out there. So anyways, on Lexi's birthday, she's sitting in class, all excited. The bell rings. She practically runs outside, right? And all the other kids follow because that's where they're going, because that's where they either get picked up by their parents or they walk home or they get on the bus. And sure enough, there's a car. And there's a car outside. It looks brand new, which, first of all, a little bit of financial advice from me. Don't buy a car new. Unless you get just don't do that. You lose 30% of the value as soon as it goes off the lot. I'm not a car expert. I don't even own a car, if I'm being honest. We'll get there someday. But just don't do that, bro. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyways, though, there's a brand new car, and you 100% knew that this was a gift because it had those novelty big red bows that you see in commercials. Lexi's dad bought one of these, and immediately Lexi stops, and everyone looks at her, and she stops for a second. She freezes up, and you see that tears start running down her face. And immediately, everybody thinks that, oh, she's probably crying out of joy. She's probably crying out of excitement. So everyone's kind of they're a little bit jealous. I mean, Bros just got a car, dude. Bros has got a car for her 16th. That's crazy. But they're also this is nice, I guess. Her dad got her a present. It's a nice father-daughter bonding experience or whatever, right? But at the same time, I don't know, I'm not trying to see this. But then people started to realize something. What is that, you might be asking? People started to realize that these were not tears of joy. These were tears of being upset, which is the craziest thing ever. Because at this point, Louise is close enough to Lexi to hear her mumbling something. What is she mumbling, you might ask? Great question. She is mumbling, no, I wanted a Lexus, not a BMW, no. Yeah. Also, what was that voice, bro? 1 like equals 1 prayer for whatever that was. But yeah, at this point, Louise basically stops in her track and realizes that Lexi is crying. She is crying because she received a BMW, a very fancy, nice car, but she didn't get the other fancy, nice car, aka the Lexus that she wanted. Bro, they go for like the same amount. What is this? And also, it's a car. None of your friends have cars, and it's new, and it's a BMW, bro. What? Huh? I'm personally mad confused right now, but anyways, right, her dad's like standing there, and oh man, Louise was telling me via Instagram DMs, because she submitted the story to me on Instagram. You can submit your stories to me on Instagram. Follow me and then send me a DM with your story. Links in the description. She was telling me that probably one of the saddest scenes that she's ever seen was the look on Lexi's dad's face. Bro, it's even hard for me to say, because like that's when he realized, because he saw that his daughter was crying because she got a Lexus she got a BMW and not a Lexus. The world is so cruel, man, that she was crying for that reason. And it's at that moment her dad realizes, oh my God, man, I raised this girl. I created the monster.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.